Hey everyone, Bruce Eckfeldt here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications so we can let you know when the next video is posted. You can also check us out at eckfeldt.com for more great content. With that, let's go check out the video.
You're listening to Scaling Up Services, where we speak with entrepreneurs, authors, business experts, and thought leaders to give you the knowledge and insights you need to scale your service-based business faster and easier. And now, here is your host, business coach Bruce Eckfeldt.
Welcome everyone. This is Scaling Up Services. I'm Bruce Eckfeldt and I'm your host. And our guest today is Mel Lim. And Mel is president of Mespera Group and is author of Turtle Design in a Rabbit Age. And we're going to talk a little bit about her experience and history as a creative professional, as a designer, as a strategist. Mel, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Bruce.
It's a pleasure having you on. I think the conversation is, really interesting for me around this kind of creative strategy, services, and I realize I was looking through your notes. We're both previous architects. So, trained as architects and being kind of, steeped in this creative design services background, but yet also trying to be business people. I think there's often a balance that needs to be struck, or at least there's challenges between those two.
I love that you say trying to be business people.
Well, unfortunately, I've learned that architects don't always make the best business people, and oftentimes the best business architects are not necessarily the most creative architects. But
True.
I think there's a little bit of a push and pull on some of those things. So why don't we start? Just give us a sense of your background. Like, how did you get to what you're doing today? And then, obviously, I want to talk about the book. I want to talk about what you're doing, in kind of the strategy and the creative services. But let's talk about background.
Okay, so I'm originally from Penang, Malaysia. I moved to the U.S. when I was 19 to study architecture at Art Center. And I was practicing architecture for about 7 years. And then I moved into consulting in 2006, I believe.
Okay.
But prior to that, in 2003, I started my business and went into product manufacturing, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I took $1,500 from my 401k at that time, puny little 401k. and then within 24 months, I scaled my product business to over 1,000 retailers worldwide and
Amazing.
with over 500 SKUs. And it became a legit big business.
Yeah.
And that was how I kind of combined, like you said, architecture, design, creative to the business side, where I had to quickly learn to fulfillment, import, export, retail, sales, and all that. And then from all of my experiences, I kind of pivoted to consulting in 2006 and brought on a couple of software clients, and I haven't stopped since.
Yeah. And so in the consulting services that you do, what do you focus on? What is the service and value that you provide?
We typically serve companies in the technology space,
Okay.
from cybersecurity, AI, neuroscience, crypto, all that fun stuff. I actually was recently brought on a luxury client, so that's like a like an
twist.
odd, a little twist, But I think all of our clients are pretty fascinated by the way we've handled growth acceleration through our brand activation initiatives. And they like that. They're interested in how we're able to use a lot of creative branding strategies to help them just grow their revenue or brand awareness.
Yeah. I mean, those are tough. I mean, all those categories, maybe luxury brand aside, all those categories are fairly kind of esoteric, abstract, concepts and services. Like how do you build a brand around these more kind of idea-driven kind of conceptual things than, real kind of hard products and consumer-based things? Give us a sense of the difference.
So I think the secret sauce is absolutely in the way we tell the story for these technology companies. I often talk to my team and I'm like, oh my God, my day is just packed with, 10 hours of conversation with clients. And one, in the morning it's like cybersecurity, and then I hang up, and then the next is like crypto. I'm like, okay, I hang up, and then, I'm talking about neuroscience. And I feel like I'm this walking Wikipedia or something.
Yeah.
And at nighttime, I have to constantly learn about the trends and be ahead of my clients, because they're looking at us as this kind of this compass to help them navigate, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly like reading up on these new tech, and then reaching out to my net, hey, what do you guys have to learn from you guys, and then I come back and deliver all that good stuff to the client. And then, so that's one piece, just the know-how and being on top of the trends and the technology and the news. The second piece to it is really to understand that technology, and that takes time. And it takes me sometimes...
Which technology? The technology of your clients, or...
Yes, the technology of my client, right?
So you have to learn about blockchain. Like, you need to actually go in and understand, like, what the hell is blockchain and how does it work?
I need to sit down and experience it. They will walk me through their, the UI and the UX for their software, right? So I need to understand. And then here they go. They send me all their data sheets, and I'm like, oh my God, I am not an engineering background.
So how do you do this? I mean, I guess I can kind of imagine, but that seems like a lot of, if you're going from a 9 o'clock call on cryptocurrency to an 11 o'clock call on AI, do you just have more brain cells than most normal creative folks and can get into this? No, I'm curious. That might be some of it. I guess, that there is, I do find that having just a big spongy brain that can absorb lots of technical information there are people like that. And there are some people that can just absorb lots of that stuff, comprehend it very quickly, but that is not, I wouldn't say that's not typical for someone who also thinks in a design creative way.
Yes. So it's very interesting. For instance, like, I'll have a conversation with a client, and he'll be saying, this is what we're trying to do, and here are the use cases, without getting into details. But he'll tell us, like, these are the use cases. We're trying to shift the way that we're selling the software this year. We need you to help us tell the story. And I'm thinking, okay, so what are the use cases? Then we do a deep dive into each one of them. Then in the back of my mind, I'm already thinking, okay, how do I tell that story visually? Is this going to be a layering of graphics that can stem from this, like a birth of or an explosion of graphics that's coming from the center? Like, I'm thinking visually, right? Yeah. I'm sketching away as I'm talking to them. And then when I hang up the phone, it's almost like my brain kind of compartmentalizes all these data, and then I plug them in visually into all these different things, and then that's how I sketch. I sketch on paper, and then I present it to them and say, hey, here you go. We're going to communicate these 3 use cases using this visual language, and we're going to do it via PowerPoint, video, animation, all these different things. And it's like what they call like a meta thinker, right? You go high level, very macro, and then you go micro. And that's how my brain works for all of my clients. But of course, in that 2-hour conversation, I really have to understand that technology, because I can't just bullshit my way through.
Yeah, exactly.
I really have to sit down and read, and understand, and then figure out what is that competitive edge. Because there's so many cybersecurity companies out there. There's so many neuroscience guys. So I have to sit down and go, I've researched this, and this is what they're doing, and I think we could do better. And here's how.
Yeah.
So I know my brain is.
Well, I think it is. I'm sure there's a process, but I'm sure there's a way that your neurons, your brains are connected to kind of be able to do that kind of work. The thing I often find in these cases, having worked with lots of sort of technologists, is that there's so much information and so much detail.
Yes.
And in the end, so much of the creative stuff is about editing, about taking out, and about
you are
clarifying.
Absolutely right. Yes, it's all about editing. It's knowing when to say, what to say, and how to deliver that content. Yeah. And then when you break it down to the when, how, what, who, again, it's almost like compartmentalizing all that data into bits. And then you have this high level. If the high level is all about, like, we'll come up with a high level word. This year it's going to be about X. Next year it's going to be about Z, whatever. But under X, we're going to do all these different things, and here are the different buckets. At least that's how my brain works. And it works really well, I guess, with all these very analytical engineers.
Yeah.
And the architecture piece helps, right, Bruce? I mean, you're talking about, systems thinking, right? You're talking about mapping out something that can translate from something that's so creative and nebulous to something that's so tangible and, actionable. So it's like I am like the conduit between the two. Like I always tell my clients, like I'm the creative and also the business. I know where you want to go, what you want to hit, and I have this roadmap for you to get there. Give me the time, people, and resources, and we'll hit it. So my business, yes, the creative piece, absolutely very important, but it is all tied into metrics and conversions and adoptions and engagements. That's all those pieces that's tied into that as well.
So you're looking at measurable, objective results and figuring out how you're going to. What are the measures? I guess when you look at these kind of measures, are there ones that you find are easier to kind of design for or to strategize against, and some that are harder, or is it really kind of case by case? Like how do you come up with the metrics?
Well, I think it's case by case. So for instance, a client could say, our main goal this year is to be able to get the salespeople to sell more software. And our job here is to make their lives easier. We want to be able to close that sales cycle, perhaps, from 12 weeks to 8 weeks, let's say. I have this goal, right? I need to be able to shorten the sales engagement process. I need to help them close faster. What are the tools that I can give these salespeople? So then I go backwards. Okay, and then I have to analyze how they're presenting to leads. How are they doing their demos? Yeah. So all these different pieces, I would list them all down, and then I'll look at how to improve that process for them. And then we'll roll it out. Yeah. And sometimes, it'll be 12 weeks to 8 weeks, and sometimes it'll be 12 weeks to 4 weeks. But either way, the whole idea is to shorten it.
Yeah, you know what your objective is. It's funny, like the architecture, I see the architecture training coming out, of almost being that anthropologist. Like you have to go in and, let me understand, let me observe how you're doing this thing right now. And then I can kind of see, I can kind of see where we could kind of play with things. It's the whole, like, if I'm going to design a space for you, well, there's lots of different types of kitchens. I kind of need to know, like, how do you entertain and what kind of food do you like to cook? And do you socialize in the kitchen, or is it purely functional? It's like, I need to kind of go in and see really how you're going to do it before I can figure out the best design for your situation. So I think there's a lot of training there. The other one I was fascinated by, this idea of sort of synthesizing this functional side with the design side. It's, we can geek out on architecture a little bit, but the whole partie, the whole idea of a partie in architecture of you have a program, right? You have a list of these are all the spaces I need and the square footage and the functional, like all these requirements. Yep, but I need that concept. I need that organizing principle that I'm going to use to give meaning, or at least giving some kind of way in which I'm going to organize these things conceptually. And so this, like your idea of the theme, like in this year is going to be, the idea of sales, and next year it might be something else, is kind of that partie for the strategy. Is like, okay, well, this is going to be the organizing principle for how we do things. And then everything's going to then fit under, on a month by month calendar.
Yes. And then on the high level side, you're looking at things like, whether or not you're communicating or delivering the messaging effectively. Yeah. Without, because brands, they all have their high level kind of like this mantra or this manifesto. They have this one word that captures the essence, right? But every year as trends change and then you have new competitors coming in, these companies are looking to kind of like shift a little bit of that tone without compromising the core brand message, right? So it gets more and more challenging over the years, I feel, because they're trying to adapt to what the market is looking. And then, but the product is essentially still the same. Uh-huh. So my role is to go in and look at, okay, how can we tweak the messaging so slightly, but not changing, the product itself, because of course the R&D is going to kill me for that, but not changing it too much. But then we're trying to try out a new market. And so every time we have a new audience, a new market, I have to go in and ever so slightly tweak the messaging just a tad so that the audience can go, oh, they're resonating with this.
Yeah.
And then we don't tweak too much of the graphics because, once we produce a 100K video, we are not going to reproduce it again.
Yeah.
So then I have to go in and tweak ever so slightly, maybe the tagline or maybe the graphics here and there to just suit that audience and capture them.
This is based on time, or is it based on segment? Like, are you saying that you do this for each segment that you're going out to, or is this?
Yes, each segment, because for a large company, they're not only targeting like the U.S. audience, they're targeting Asia, they're targeting Europe, and I have to be very kind of culturally sensitive with the graphics that I'm producing.
So I guess imagine the kind of the cultural localization or the sensitivities, the cultural associations or the sensitivities that would need to be adjusted. Are there more strategic considerations? Like, do you really get into, this country right now, like this concept is really big, or this is a big trend, so I want to key in on that, other than just, we use words in different ways, or I need to localize the content. At what level are you doing that kind of adjustment?
So it can be big and it can be small sometimes. It all depends on how fast they want to capture that new market. If it's going to be, for instance, if I'm given a short amount of time, Mel, we have a big trade show coming up in UK, let's say. Yep. So everything around that effort, it has to be customized for the UK audience. Yeah. I can't just go in and just say, hey, tweak one word and here and there, remove this graphics because they don't like this right now, and we gotta be sensitive with the political change. So, but it's almost like I wouldn't say redesign. It's more like reframing all of the deliverables to suit that particular trade show or engagement or a big client that they're going for. Yes. So So my life is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. It sounds fun. I mean, it sounds hard and it sounds complicated, but it sounds fun. Is that, I guess, what do you love about it? Like, what is the real, for you, what is the real passion, or what is the real intrigue about doing what you do?
Oh my God. I was just telling a friend a couple days ago about this because, he was observing the way that I work, and he's like, how can you do this 20 hours a day and so intense about it? And you have so many different clients demanding different things from you at all times. What I find the most exciting is having this ability and trust from my clients, right, to execute impeccably, but also to do all that with a very limited amount of time and resources. I get the kick out of it. Like I find it very. I love the challenge. Yeah. Don't give me a lot of money. Don't give me a lot of just give me enough, and I can show you that we can do so much with X. Yeah. And it gives me this this satisfaction that, oh my God, if I can do this with this much impact, with just this amount of time and resources, boy, you're going to roll this out throughout the year, and with this much dollar, oh my God, I can't even imagine. I don't know. I just get very excited about having this ability to turn, like I always give the analogy, is like, give me a bowl of white rice and I can turn it into a crab meat fried rice for you. I can add eggs, I can add chicken. Yeah. It's going to be this yummy bowl of, crab meat fried rice.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think there is something strangely motivating about constraints. Like given the right set of constraints, like it's the challenge. You have to innovate. You have to figure out how to stretch things. It's it makes it interesting. Otherwise it's like, all right, well, if I have unlimited budget and I can take as long as I want, it's like, I don't know what to do.
Right. So
I don't have nothing to work with.
Yes, exactly. So the constraints, it established this framework, right? It gives you this framework, and you go, how can I be innovative with only this? And it's like, how when you're kids, you just build something out of like cardboard or a stick or something.
Paper towel rolls and string,
and then you create I used to do that when I was growing up. My father would buy me Barbie dolls, but he will not buy me the accessories, right? And I'm thinking, I'm like, well, I need a car for my Barbie. I need the mansion. I need the clothes. So I'll start making those things by myself by cutting up all the fabric in the house.
Yeah.
And I would start making things. And so I have this mentality that, you don't have to give me a lot. You just have to give me a little, and I can make this amazing. And I think most creative people work that way.
Yeah.
It's, give them a little bit and then they'll stretch it. So that's my thing. I love to stretch things.
So let's talk a little bit about the book. Well, first of all, let's talk about the title, Turtle Design in a Rabbit Age.
Yes.
So there's a backstory on this, or?
So there is a backstory on this. Actually, it was a keynote that I gave at a design conference. It was like a 30-minute keynote that I gave about slowing down. And the organizer was asking me, like, how do you design for technology companies and using your methodology? And my methodology is, yes, I design for companies and they're on agile method and they're rapid prototyping all the time and they're moving at 100 miles per hour. But when they engage me, I move equally as fast. It's just that I am extremely mindful about the where, the what, the hows, and what we're trying to achieve when you engage me. And I want it to be extremely impactful. So because my methods are always about asking the right questions and forcing my clients to go, like, for instance, no, we just want a website. And I'll go, why are we designing this website? Why are we redesigning this website? Why are we changing it? What's the content? Why do we want to have this content? And the more questions I ask, I get down to the bottom of it. Well, we just want people to sign up for our demo. I'm like, well, there are other ways to getting people signed up for your demo. Let's look at the other ways that's more efficient or effective, right? So the more questions I ask, I find that I'm unveiling this underlying problems that they have. Well, what does the demo lead to? Well, we just want people to try out our product because we have an adoption issue. So, well, then the more I ask, I dig deeper, then I have all these problems. And then what I then do is I just prioritize those problems and solutions for them. So, and I couldn't get to the bottom of it if I didn't force my clients to slow down and answer my questions. So I wrote this book because I wanted people to kind of have this mindful practice and appreciation from not only my craft, but for their craft. I always tell my clients, I'm like, it took you, 5 years to develop this software. Why do you want to just like slap something on it and sell it? I mean, if you want people to take your company seriously, your product seriously, I mean, especially for enterprise product, right? Yeah. Then we got to do it the right way. Like, don't just slap something on it and ship it. You got to do it the right way. So I'm forcing them, or I'm almost empowering or educating them that they have to respect their product, number one, their processes. And my role is to help their consumers and their clients respect their product, appreciate all the good stuff that they have built to create this company. And, essentially it's about craftsmanship. So that's where the book came about, is teaching people how to be very mindful about creating meaningful experiences that can connect business to people.
Yeah. I like that idea. I mean, I think that, that the whether you're a consultant, a designer, a strategist, an architect, that there's a certain kind of integrity or a certain
yes.
There's something about what you do that has some core purpose, and you need to keep that in mind as you provide the service. I mean, yes, you want to be client focused, and yes, you want to be service focused, and yes, you want to meet the needs of your client, but there are times when you do need to push back, or you do need to pause, or you do need to slow down and kind of say, okay, look, is this really what we want to do, or is this really going to get us the outcome that we want? And that can be really hard. I think a lot of people get wrapped up into it. Well,
so yes, I want to add to that. It's the idea of knowing that I always tell my design friends, we have this power, and it all stemmed from the conversation of commanding your worth or demanding for the right fees, right?
Yeah.
Money is always like, people always say, oh, you're a starving artist. No, that's not true. But I think it's from the moment that when you're aware of the real power that you have, then you are able to deliver. And I think it took me a while to realize this power that I have. Over the course of 20 years being in the U.S. and designing, from architecture like retail spaces to casinos to stadiums, and then moving into this product manufacturing, and then moving into consulting. And I've realized that I've constantly designing experiences that make people do things, right? Like you said, in architecture, you're making people sit, shop, play, do all these things. And then when you're moving into the digital world, you're making people click this, download this, turn this up, watch this. Yeah. And this is power, Bruce. This is like, we have this ability to instigate change and to create this new realities, and all these changes and realities, it actually helps either make or break a business.
Yeah. They have impact.
Yeah. It has impact. Yeah. And so once you realize this, you're like, oh my God, I have to be very careful about how I exercise this power.
Yeah, you've got a fiduciary responsibility now.
Yes, so it's like this code, right? It's like this code amongst designers, like this code. Like even now, like I teach people, through my workshops and lectures, how to transform your power. Even when I'm on stage, I have to be very careful about what I say to them, especially when people ask questions like, you're asking us to design meaningful life and experiences. I want to start my own business. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Mm-hmm. Starting your own business, it actually requires a lot. And then I have to go into all the good stuff and the ugly stuff so that they're aware, I'm not going to say, go for your passion. And I'm like, go for the passion. Yes. But there are other reality factors. Like, for instance, you got to figure out how to make money. You got to feed your kids and all these things. And I have to be very mindful about how I deliver my message. Yes.
Yeah. No, I think it's true. With great power comes great responsibility. I think you need to take it seriously.
Yes.
So we're gonna hit time here. I know if people want to get more information on you, on the book, what's the best way to get a hold of that?
So you can visit my website. It's mellim.com, or for my startups and consulting engagement, visit masperagroup.com.
Great. I'll make sure both of those links are on the show notes so people can click through. Mel, this has been a pleasure. I think there's a lot of folks I know in this audience who are craftspeople, and I think that thinking about it that way and thinking about what is their purpose and what is the role and the power that they have and what do they need to be responsible about is a really great message, and I think it's a great conversation. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Bruce.
You've been listening to Scaling Up Services with business coach Bruce Eckfeldt. To find a full list of podcast episodes, download the tools and worksheets, and access other great content, visit the website at scalingupservices.com. And don't forget to sign up for the free newsletter at scalingupservices.com/newsletter.